group.
Right. They're looking at what is in existence, what can be carried over from one county to the next, what does one area have that another one could utilize. And it's a huge issue. And how quickly is this going to happen? I think one of the big issues that we can look at now is in San Francisco, the Laguna Honda hospital situation, where a lot of those folks are coming out of the hospital, going into the community. And, how is that happening? What are the supports that are available to them? This is not just an issue for those residents that reside in these facilities. It's really a whole societal issue. And as we know that our society's aging, we have a lot more seniors that are coming up. As we grow older, we acquire disabilities. There are issues that come up with us, or we're going to need more support, more social supports. And is our society willing to hand out the dollars to make these happen? Are our seniors willing to go the extra mile to be able to make this happen, to be able to stay at home? I think that our current seniors, myself included, since I'm in that position now, I would much rather stay at home with the supports that are available to me than have to go into institutional care, because we know that number one, institutional care is always more costly, and also you don't get the care that you need. It's just it chops off so many more years of your life.
A question I had for Rich is whether or not some economic comparisons have been done of the cost of keeping someone in a nursing home for a year, for example, as opposed to staying in an apartment or a home with in-home supportive services. Has that kind of economic calculus been done?
Absolutely. It's almost triple the amount to stay in a nursing facility than it is to be in your own home. Mm-hmm. The quality of life is far better, but when you look at the cost figures, it just doesn't make financial sense. And that was one of the things that I think the governor kind of looked at and said, well, if we take all this money away from, and the benefits away from the providers, and these people have to go into nursing homes, well, we're going to be spending millions and millions and millions more per year opposed to what we do right now. And in-home supportive services is one of the most costly programs, but it's one of the most effective programs as well. So to take a person out of their home into an institution, decrease their quality of life, decrease their ability to become an active part of society, return to work, return to school, to bring money back into the community really doesn't make a lot of sense, providing that person does have the right care, that they're not going to be put at risk, their health and safety is going to be met, and it's going to benefit the families as well. You want to, it's all about family. Mm-hmm. You want to keep families together. You don't want to fragment them by them being pulled apart. And I think this Homestead, act of keeping people in their home, if they can stay in their homes under, the right financial abilities, it's the right thing to do. So yes, they've looked at this very closely, and I think they're recognizing that, let's do what we can to keep people in their home where it's safe, comfortable, more productive. Sure. And it adds to their quality of life. And Janie mentioned that just a moment ago, that it chops off, maybe 5 years, maybe more years off your life when you're living in a squalid lifestyle. It's not a healthy environment.
Well, again, kind of referring back to our discussion about advocacy as education, it seems even apart from the human, experience, just putting the dollars and cents in front of someone, if that's what they care about, it almost advocates itself. You say this is 3 times more expensive. You may look at a budget, and this year it looks like it's more expensive, but 3 years down the road, the sort of hidden costs are so much greater.
Yes.
So, but it also sounds like a number of the things we talked about in Silicon Valley, the some of the changes in terms of registry and so on are going to be helpful, at least in implementing, so whatever the plan eventually is implemented, in order to provide people, make sure they're safe in their homes and have the resources available.
Well, that's giving them options, and opportunities to look at what they can do. It's not going to be a cut and dry type of thing. So, they have the options, the choices, the opportunities, and then the decision they need to make. So they've got 4 things to look at, and when they put them all together, talk with their families, look at their community, make a decision, and by that time they've made the right one for themselves.
That's great. Well, thank you for joining us for this segment of the Better Care Forum. Please stay with us for further discussion of these and other issues. And I was thinking. Welcome back to the Better Care Forum discussion with our guests, Janie Whiteford and Richard Patterson. And we've been talking about the Olmsted Plan and its implementation statewide. And I wanted to sort of elaborate on that theme, that there's always going to be action taken statewide that people with disabilities and seniors and their families and other affected people need to stay abreast of and aware of to continue on with the advocacy that we also talked about earlier.
Well, every year the state legislature has their agendas put forth at the beginning of the congressional year. There's either an assembly bill or a Senate bill. And I think that this year there are like 6,000 bills in all different arenas. But every specific area has bills coming forth, whether it be in-home support services, whether it be the regional centers that are impacted by it, whether it be bills that specifically are targeted towards seniors, whether it be veterans bills that have a specific target of veterans and those folks coming back from our current war that's going on now, and how it impacts them, and the veterans hospitals. And I think it's always incredibly important that people are very vigilant as to what's going on in Sacramento and at the federal level in Washington with these bills, because you can make an impact. You have an impact on your legislature and really do have the right and the duty and the obligation to become involved, and especially when it affects you and your loved ones, as to what's going on. I know that a lot of the different organizations, whether in our instance CAPA, California Association of Public Authorities, they take stances on bills that have to do with in-home support services. The MS Society takes stances on individual bills. They have a very good legislative agenda that folks can be aware of. Some of the other Alzheimer's dementia groups take stances on legislative stances on bills. So that there's lots of opportunities for you to become aware of things that are going on at the legislative level that might impact you, whether you be a senior or someone with a disability. For example, AARP is incredibly effective at lobbying in the legislative arena for rights of seniors. Sure. But I think that, your first order of business is to become educated on what's out there, what's going on that current legislative session. And then if it affects you and you have an interest in it, let people know about it. Yeah. Don't hesitate to go to your legislator and let them know. And there's all different kinds of ways that you can do this. Some people don't have that much time. They just want to make a quick phone call. Just open your telephone book, and right there in the front is a list of your legislators, what their phone numbers are, how to get in touch with them. You can always email them. You can go visit them. They have offices both up in Sacramento. They also have local offices in their own jurisdictions. I would have to say that I've done this fairly often, that the aides, each legislator has an aide that deals with a particular policy area, and they're very knowledgeable and they're very approachable. And they want to hear from you. They want to know what you think and they want to know what their constituents feel.
Do you think, Rich, there's any risk of complacency in the senior or persons with disabled communities because they feel like a lot has been achieved, and if there are effective organizations like AARP, so why should I, have to get involved when I have these champions sort of far away in Sacramento?
I right off the bat, when people become acutely injured, complacency becomes a lifestyle. Not for all, and I don't want to put that down as a blanket statement, but if they're not quite sure where they fit in, whether or not they're going to be able to, they're battling the adjustment,
Sure.
the adaptation, they're living at home, kind of get their way back to work, and then when they start seeing that things aren't quite going the way they'd like them to do, that complacency starts to billow up inside, and it either turns into frustration, anger, or it turns into becoming a part of the solution. And by far, I think most of them want to become part of the solution rather than sit back and wait and see what's going to take place. Once we do the educational aspect of it and let them know that by being complacent, your voice is not being heard. Your voice really needs to be a part of
Sure.
this process. If it's not, you're going to find yourself in a situation that you really are going to be very unpleasant. And there's a whole theory out there that, well, my vote's not going to count. But we need to get people more involved, and hear that whole story. If you tell two people, they'll tell two people.
Right.
And it just starts to build and build. And I think that makes a huge difference. But early on, there's that whole scene where you just don't want to get involved, or you say, well, that's not really my scene. I'm going to be better, in a year, so I don't have to worry about it right now. But as we move forward, get to know who our representatives are, who the organizations are that can be supportive, who's going to be there to educate us in this process. Our support systems throughout our community are all going to come together and work towards that one goal in achieving success. And we've been successful in that a number of times. And I think that is shown. And therefore, I think that's why we're getting so many more people to be involved in being advocates, or getting them outside of their homes and moving on to a healthier style of living.
Great, thanks. And thank you for joining us for this evening's Better Care Forum discussion of disability rights. We're looking forward to having you with us in future episodes as the Better Care Forum explores further strategies for success.